Hey there, quilting friend, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and today I'm going to talk to you about adding closures to bags. Yes, we're having a little closure on today's episode, but we're talking about closures on bags. It is a really simple process when you know what you're doing, but if you've never done it before, if you've never seen anyone do it before, it might feel like it could be tricky or scary, and it definitely helps when you have the right tools. So, you ready? Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about 4 different kinds of closures today. This one is a press lock where it just inserts in. This one, these are screw together grommets. This one is a magnetic snap. Magnetic snaps come in all different sizes. And this one is a turn lock. So those are 4 really common kinds of closures. Now, closures come in individuals, like in individual baggies, on like hang tags at your favorite sewing and crafting stores. You can also buy entire sets of closures. So this has all different kinds of, this one actually has zippers and grommets, as well as the big screw together grommets, or I think those ones are snap together grommets. Those may be, different kinds of strap hardware. This is also all in gold colors. This one is all in rose gold, and this actually has a lot of different handle hardware on there, as well as, these are cute. I'm gonna open this up. These are little feet that you can add to the bottom of your bags, and they're gonna go on really similar to these magnetic snaps. So that's gonna be fun to show. And this is rose gold, and the ones I'm showing today, they just happen to be silver. There are different brands, there are different colors. You can also find like the oil slick metal. There's so many cool different kinds of hardware, and they really elevate your bag making projects. But you have to know how to put them on, right? So here's some of the tools that I use when I'm attaching bag hardware, and we'll be putting these on, so you'll be seeing me use these tools. I have a pair of little scissors that have a nice sharp point on them, and they're sharp scissors. These have a plastic handle, so they look like they're like cheapy scissors, but they cut well. If at any point, like I were to try to cut metal somehow with them and they got dull, you'd want to throw these away. They're no longer good. So you want sharp scissors with a nice point on them. This is a marking tool. This one is a chalk marking pencil. White goes well on dark fabrics, and dark pencils go well on light fabrics. So you may need one in different colors depending on what kinds of fabrics you're going to be marking on. This is a purple thing. I have a whole video on that purple thing, but it can be great for kind of pushing things out of the way in fine little areas where you can't fit your fingers. I have actually 2 different seam rippers. If your seam ripper gets dull, and yes, seam rippers can get dull, it can make this process actually a disaster. So you want a nice sharp seam ripper. And then I have a small tiny screwdriver. This one happens to be able to pull out so that I can have a Phillips head, which is the plus sign, or a flat head, which is the minus sign. For most of these, you usually need a Phillips head, so a tiny plus size screwdriver. And then this is optional, but I find it so handy. This is Fray Check. It's kind of like crazy glue for fabric fibers. So if you have a spot where you're worried that your fabric fibers are going to fray apart, like when you're cutting holes to be able to put in some of these different hardware, Fray Check is amazing. So those are our tools. These are the different kinds of hardware that we're going to put in, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with this press lock. I love the way a press lock looks, and they look so nice when they're finished, right? Okay. And depending on the kind of bag pattern you're using, it should have all the instructions for how to do something like a press lock, how to add something like a press lock to your bag. So I have 2 pieces of fabric that I have fusible fleece fused inside. Again, your pattern will tell you when to install these. So you might not have the back fabric on yet for some of these. And our press lock has 3 pieces. So it has the top, which is really super easy to install. And then it has the bottom, which we need to cut little holes to install, but is not scary. Okay? And then, oh, we have this back, which helps secure our bottom. So we're going to go ahead and start by adding the top because it is so easy. It has these little kind of like teeth that are in there. They're little screw teeth, and we're going to use our screwdriver to unscrew these. And you don't want to unscrew them all the way. You don't want them to come out. You're just going to unscrew. There we go. You want to unscrew enough that you can fit it on your fabric. And the way a press lock works is it's a top flap. So this is going to be our top flap onto the body of our bag. And I'm going to flip this over. You want to make sure it's nice and flush and that it doesn't move. And then we're just going to screw it in place. If you want this to be kind of like extra secure, hopefully you've done a top stitch on your bag. So it'd be a line of stitching right along here. And then this would be on the inside of that stitching. So that stitching would also help keep it secure. But if I give that a good tug, it's not going anywhere. It's secure right on there. And those 2 little teeth have just gone right into that fabric. Now these do have fusible fleece. You can also do this with a foam interfacing. So attaching that top, super simple. Now when we attach the bottom, here's how I like to attach the bottom. Your pattern instructions might give you a spot to measure based on how your pattern is put together. But if you're in this situation where you kind of get to decide where your flap is going to end up, let's make all of our little prongs straight up and down. You can just bend these with your fingers. I don't have a super lot of hand strength and I can bend them with my fingers just fine. Know where your flap is going to line up. And then we're going to just give it a good press and press those prongs right into our fabric. And that's going to leave little marks. Now, if you have a backing fabric, you want to move that out of the way because we're going to cut little holes, and we don't want the holes to go through this fabric because we want all of our hardware to be hidden on the inside here. So I'm going to grab a seam ripper and I'm just going to poke a hole. And here's a secret. Cut your little slits half as big as you think you need to. Really, half as big. Because fabric is really flexible and they'll open up a lot on their own. Okay, so I can remove this top piece. And now I can take these prongs and carefully start to tuck them into those little holes. All right, that bottom right one goes in really easily. That bottom left one, good. That top right one. Okay, that top right one is giving me a hard time. I might need to cut it a little bigger. Yep, that top right one I might have cut just a touch too small. So super carefully with your seam ripper. Okay, because you don't want to cut too far. Now make sure I have this right side up. So this bar is towards the top of my project. Let's try again. Perfect. So all 4 go in beautifully and that presses flat. And now on the back side, what I'm going to do is add this plate. Now there are 2 ways that you can close these prongs. The instructions will tell you to close them inward. I feel like you get more stability when you push them outward. However, you can get wear and tear on these spots on the prongs since it's not protected. So if you follow the instructions, you're pushing them inward. If you are looking for like more stability, but you know you have enough interfacing to protect from those prongs there, you can push them outward. And now that's installed and it's not going anywhere. So there it is closed. and open. How pretty is that, right? Finished piece of hardware. Okay, these magnetic snaps go in pretty much the same way as the bottom of that press lock did. So I'm going to open up my magnetic snaps. If you have a package with multiple magnetic snaps in it, and those are available, you just want to make sure that when you go to put in your magnetic snaps that you have one male and one female. So you grab your magnetic snaps and make sure that they do join with one another. And these ones do, because it's just one pack, one set. And just like before, we have our pieces for the back and our pieces for the front. So I have two pieces here. I'm going to decide where I want the snap. Now the snaps go on the inside of a bag. So if this was my bag, I'd have the snap putting these two pieces together. So if you're using a pattern, it might have you measure a certain amount from the sides or a certain amount from the top. And then I'm just going to press it down just like I did before. And that's going to make my two divots. Oh, I did this on the wrong side. Okay. So you're going to measure however much from the sides and however much from the top based on what your pattern says. And then you're going to press down just like we did before. And you'll leave two little marks or divots in your fabric. And then just like before, we're going to take our seam ripper and super gently make a hole half as big as you think you need to. You can always make that hole bigger, you just can't make it smaller. Now we're going to try to push this through. There we go. Perfect. And then just like before, we put our back on. Oh. These ones are a little harder to push because they're so small, so I don't have as much leverage. So once I've pushed them a little bit, come here. There we go. I can push down on my table. There we go. There. And get that nice and flat. So there we go. I have one side that's on there. Once you've done one side, you can take your other side and you can measure on your other side as well. Or you can take the other side of your magnetic snap, line everything up, and push down, making those two little divots again. Okay, I can't see them well enough. Let's try again. It's hard for me to see them on this dark fabric, so I'm marking it. There we go. And then I've just made a mark with my fabric marking pencil so I can see where those go. Again, cut your holes half the sides that you think you need them. I'm going to grab this piece off of here. And then we can put on our back, start to push them over. There we go. And push that down against the table. So now I have two pieces that snap right together. For my little magnetic snap for a bag. There we go. So that's two different kinds of closures down. Let's go ahead and work on another one. So these are screw together grommets. I think they look so much fun in designs. Here the example is that they could be holes for purse handles to go through. and they absolutely can. I've used them for closures as well on a bag. And so we're just going to take one. We're going to unscrew it. And this time we want the screws all the way out. And I'm going to take my little lid here, or my little plastic piece, and I'm going to put the screws in there so they don't roll away, because we need our screws. And I have had projects where I've lost my little screws before, and that's no good. You can use a little cup or a lid if you didn't have a package like this. Okay. So now we have our two parts, and what we're going to do is we're going to decide where our little grommet is going to go. Use your fabric marking pencil or pen and make a nice line on here, nice and dark. So we have two parts on this, and the screws are going to need to go through to this other side. So we need holes not just for our center hole, but also for our screws. So since I made my first circle with this, that's fine. I'm going to line up my circle on this piece, and I need to make marks for where those screw holes are going to go. And this is, oh, no, I can see those well enough. I was thinking that this pen might be too light, but okay. So we'll start with our big hole in the center. And I'm using my sharp tip scissors. You can use your seam ripper to start this hole if you prefer. So you could take your seam ripper and go all the way through and then kind of rip a little bit of a hole to get started. And then I've cut a little plus sign, and I want to cut just to the outside of that circle that I drew. So just on the outside of that line. And remember, you can always cut it bigger if you need, you just can't cut it smaller. Okay, so now if you look on the back of here, we have these screws that need to come through. And the easiest way, let me make sure that this is big enough. Okay, it's a little small. So I'm going to cut a little more all the way around, and then we're going to cut our screw holes as well. And we can go ahead and cut those screw holes while we're cutting this a little bigger. So we're just going to cut up to that screw hole and down. And then up to the screw hole. Okay. And I went a little crazy with my cutting here. Should be okay. Alright, so I can set this on top of here and make sure that I can see all my screw holes. Perfect. Now I'm going to close this up, but here's one of those spots that before I close it up, because yes, this outside edge should really seal everything down, I'm going to add some Fray Check just to keep this extra secure, because there's a lot of holes going on here. So I'm just going to take a little drops of this Fray Check. And you want to be judicious with your Fray Check, because it can leave kind of like a stain on fabric. Like it'll look like a wet spot or water spot. So when you use Fray Check, you just want to use it just along that edge. Just the tiniest little drops. And that'll seal up those edges. And now we're going to work quickly. Put this on top. piece on top of here, line up those screw holes. Our screws should be all where we left them. And then when you are screwing something together, come here. It's not finding that screw hole. There we go. When you're screwing something together, it's a best practice not to fully tighten the first screw yet. You're just kind of getting those positions and starting to line everything up. Because then you still have a little bit of wiggle room if you need to wiggle something a little bit. And also, if you tighten that first screw all the way, it can kind of make for like a wonky. So if you have two pieces, right, and you tighten this screw all the way, that's going to tighten this down, and it's going to make it hard for all the other holes to line up because you've now taken it, like you've skewed it, right? So you want to tighten all of them kind of at the same time and bring it down. Come here. So we're going to go ahead and tighten all of our screws. You want to be careful not to strip them just in case you need to take this out at some point. There we go. I went ahead and kind of pulled any fabric that was showing between the two layers. And now I can give it one last really tight, secure. There we go. And there we go. Doesn't that look perfect? So perfect. And we have our grommet that we can use. This could be decoration. It could be used to attach a handle. There's so many reasons that you could have like a beautiful finished grommet on your bag. And again, this would be the outside, and where the screws are would be the inside of your bag. The outside is what you want your pretty finished look to be. Okay, that is 3 different kinds of hardware down. Let's go ahead and get started on our turn lock. So our turn lock is another flap hardware similar to this here, right? This one, it inserts, but this one we have a flap. There we go. Come here. So this would be our top and this would be our bottom. So for this one, I actually want to install the bottom first. It's just the way that I do it on my bags. So let's say we want it here. Make my 2 divots. Yep, I can see those. Grab my seam ripper. Make your holes half the size that you think you need to make them, because they will stretch, and you can always make your hole bigger if you need, but you cannot make it smaller. Then on the back, we're going to take our metal flange just like before, and the instructions do say to push those in, but I think it just adds more security to push them out, especially if you have plenty of interfacing to keep any extra wear that would happen from these being pushed out. So there we go. We have our bottom piece already attached. And so now, and this is why I always do the top piece second, is that I would look at the flap on my bag to see, okay, where does my flap land, so that I don't end up like attaching it way up here and then my flap on my bag doesn't stretch that far. So I see where the flap on my bag lands, and I've given myself a divot of where that goes. This is just like the screw together grommets in how we're putting this together. So we're unscrewing. I'm going to grab my plastic piece that it came in as a place to hold my screws. And a little cup or a tray or a plate would also work. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab, this is going to be the back piece. and I'm going to put it on that mark that I made before. And because this fabric's so light, I want a darker marking pen. So this is actually just a regular mechanical pencil, and that works great for marking. So I'm marking my center hole and my screw holes. So this is cutting the same way that we did before, cutting all the way through. And you can use your seam ripper to give you a good head start on a cut. And then use your little scissors and we're cutting the outside just beyond the outside edge, and then just around these screw holes. And it's really just a thread or two beyond. You're not trying to cut out a huge hole. Okay. So now this is the front. I'll put that on the front. And this is the back. And you want to make sure that you can see those screw holes and everything fits. I can see the screw holes. This all wraps around. And just like before, I'm going to go ahead and add a little Fray Check, which will kind of finish the edge, secure the edges. You don't want to add too much because it can kind of stain the fabric a little bit, but all of this tiny little edge is going to be tucked inside the closure so you won't see it. And it just kind of glues those little fibers together to keep them from fraying. It keeps your fray in check. Fray check. So there we go, all the way around. This piece is my front. This piece is my back, and this ridge side is going to be the outside. So I'm going to put that in place. I'm going to grab my screws. And just like before, you don't want to screw down all the way. You want to just start the screw on one side, and once it catches, you've got it a little bit, then you do the screw on the other. Okay, and now we can kind of tug to pull any of these loose little threads or bit inside, so everything's tucked away. And let me check that from the front, make sure everything looks clean. Perfect. I feel like this bulged up a little bit, so I want to unscrew it a little bit. Kind of tug it back down. There we go. There we go. And that's the bottom. Or excuse me, that's the top. This is the bottom. They go together and it just locks like this. And then you have your turn lock for your bag. And it's so simple to do and looks so professional. So there you go. It's a snap. Couldn't help myself. It's so easy to add professional looking hardware to your bags. You can buy these and they're really not that expensive. It's usually just a couple dollars, $5 or less for most pieces of hardware that you add to your bags. And it gives such a professional, finished, clean look to your bags, and they're not hard to install at all. So if you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. I hope you've already given this video a thumbs up to let me and other folks know that you enjoyed it. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I have lots of sewing. I have lots of sewing and quilting fun that I want to share with you, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified. And there are already hundreds of videos here, so feel free to look around the channel and find quilting and sewing videos that help you out. Thanks so much for watching, my friends. I will see you right here real soon. Bye for now.